Hello, and welcome to Messages from Beyond with Shannon Grace. This is session 6, and it's kind of it's a what word would I use to describe it? It's a redo. There we go. It's a redo of a session that I recorded almost a week ago now. So I felt about a week ago. So the dates don't really. It was on Friday the 13th. Yeah. So on Friday, March 13th, I recorded a Messages from Beyond session, and I was just finishing. Literally, like, I had over an hour of messages and of sharing recorded, and I was just finishing up with an exercise or a technique that I was sharing with all of you on how to release some things. And I had my eyes closed as I was describing the technique, because I was doing the technique at the same time that I was describing it. And I opened my eyes and my camera had died. Like, something zapped it, and the whole entire recording was lost. And this is a new device that I'm recording on. So something happened, and that was it. So it was really like, sometimes I get disappointed in things because my mind really thinks that it should be a certain way and that things should go a certain way, and then when they don't go that way, it is frustrating and disappointing. And actually, the thing that I was the most upset about was that during that session, like, so many amazing insights and philosophies and information was coming through that, like, it was new to me as it was coming. And it was just I don't know, like, it for me, it was such a huge eye-opening session that it just made me sad that I wasn't able to share it with you guys and girls, because I'm not going to even try to recreate or rethink of what all came through that day, because that day was meant for that day. And like, I helped a lot of people on the other side that day, and they got what they needed, and they heard what they needed. And the essences of people who are in the physical realm, so the essences of living people, or the spirits of living people, or the souls of living people, whatever word you want to use, a lot of them also connected with me that day during that session, and they got what they needed. So for whatever reason, I was just not meant to have that experience be shared on camera. But I did feel some sense of reassurance afterwards, because it was like the work was still done, and the shifts still happened, and the connection was still made, and the messages were still received. And like, it was just, again, like, it didn't end how I thought it was gonna end. It's kind of like a movie that you watch for like an hour, and then you're just getting towards the end of the movie, and then the movie ends in a completely different way than what you thought it was gonna end, and it ended in a shitty way. And it's like, I felt like that ended in that super awesome experience ended in a very shitty way, and kind of bummed me out. And I just have not, so it's been almost a week since then, but I just have not felt like getting back on here until today, because ironically enough, like, since that recording, things personally have really started to like implode with this whole coronavirus and things, like plans that we had and activities that we had, and just like life as we know it has completely changed since then. And like things obviously were building by March 13th, and there was a lot going on by March 13th. But for me personally, in my own life, like the big things didn't hit me and my family personally until after the 13th. So there's been a lot of my own processing and my own, like, literally just trying to like wrap my head around our new reality right now, and everybody being home all the time, and just like this new reality that we're currently in. It's taken me a few days to kind of just like process that, and like I feel okay about it right now, but at any given moment that could change, and something, we just never know what's coming next. Like, it's a very unsettled feeling. And even though I feel like I had a very level-headed approach to all of this, and a very energetic approach, where it's like, this is spreading so fast because of fear and because of trauma and because of the energy that we hold within us that literally like opens the door for this virus to get in. So I feel like I want to talk about that a little bit and just share some like perspectives and insights, because I have dug very deeply into physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic health and wellness. And I have a very abstract way of looking at things, but I feel like it's also a very helpful way of looking at things, and it makes sense to me. So even though it's abstract, I feel like it's also very logical. And I'll leave that up to you. Like, we're all entitled to our own opinions, but for me, this feels very logical, abstractly logical. So a few years ago now, I realized that, okay, so our actions and our being comes from, so like I'll simplify this. Our actions come from our thoughts, and our thoughts come from our beliefs, and our beliefs are energy. Like, they come from energy, and they are energy, and they're energetic, and they're all just like energy up in our head. And like, even thoughts are thoughts are energy up in our head. But then our thoughts like our thoughts and our beliefs, all of this, and our emotions manifest our physical reality. So it manifests our actions, whether it's physical manifestation, like with our physical body, whether it's like experiences or events or that type of thing. We're very much, everything starts from energy, and we're very much in charge of, like, we're in charge of our energy. So we don't have control over the fact that nature has a virus that's kicking our asses right now. Like, we do not have control over that. But in my logic, in my reasoning, we do have 100% control and ownership of how we deal with that, and to check in and see, like, what about me could be attracting this, or is attracting this into my life. And because not every single person on the planet likely is going to get, I have this chunk of hair that's driving me bonkers. not every single person on the planet likely is going to get this virus. It depends. It depends on what the energy dictates that is going to happen. So our own energy will dictate whether we get it or not. And it's important to take ownership of our energy, and it's so important to take ownership of like our role in the situation. And so previously, when these messages were coming through about this, there was a lot about how much fear and trauma energy is within us, but has also been left by, I feel like I'm teaching right now. I feel like I'm talking in a very teachery voice. So I apologize if I sound like kind of teachery. I feel like that is the energy that I have right now. It's kind of like a teacher talking about these things. But the messages that were coming the other day was that we're holding a lot of fear and trauma energy, and the physical realm is holding a lot of fear and trauma energy from people who, human history, were alive and now are no longer living, but they're all connected to plagues, pandemics, illnesses, like all of these like invisible attackers of our health throughout human history. And that over human history, that has generated a lot of fear and a lot of trauma, because people were dying all over the place, especially in human history before like modern medicine and modern science. It was like, maybe it was known on some level or sensed on some level, like intuitively or spiritually or whatever. But I just feel that and there's still fear. Even with modern medicine and modern science, there's still a ton of fear around these invisible viruses. Well, they're not invisible, but you know what I mean. They're invisible to the naked eye. These viruses and these sicknesses and these things that happen to us that come at us and we can't see them coming. Like if you're being attacked by an animal or a person or the weather, you can see that coming. Like your mind can understand what it is and what it's doing. But with these illnesses and viruses and these invisible things, the mind has no clue what's going on. The mind has no clue if you have it or if you don't. It's just really confusing for the mind. And so the other day, I was really working with the people who have passed, who left their fear and trauma energy behind because they died. Or they lived, but there was a lot of trauma associated to it, whether they were sick or they were a loved one of someone who was sick or a loved one of someone who died, that type of thing. And there was a lot of trauma to it, and they didn't resolve their fear and trauma before they passed away. So then I'm calling them pebbles, like energetic pebbles, of this energy, like of this emotional energy that stays behind, but like it doesn't just go away because the person is no longer physically alive. That energy will stay until someone cleans it up. So that I've realized my job, what my calling, my purpose is to help the world clean up the energetic mess, because I can see it and I can feel it, and it is invisible, but it's very, very real for me. And it's almost like I have a channel within me that is aware of it and sees it and like can communicate with it and understand it. And like there's a lot going on inside of this little head of mine pertaining to this. And so that is my job. My job is to help clean up the energetic mess that we're carrying within us, and we don't even realize it because it's invisible, but also to help clean up the energetic mess that the deceased people that have left behind. So people who are now deceased, the energetic pebbles, the energetic messes, the energetic piles, especially emotional stuff and beliefs and patterns that they've left behind. Because it's one thing to be like aware, but it's another thing to like clean it up. And I'm seeing the image of the ocean cleanup guy. Like he's got a lot going on. Like his mission is to help clean up the ocean. And my mission is to help clean up the energy that is just there. But it's a big mess. Like, yes, it's a very big mess. Like I was like, energy has been around for way longer than plastic. So in my own abstract way of seeing things, like all of that plastic in the ocean is a huge, huge job. But like my awareness is that, but messy energy and unresolved stuff at time of death has been around way longer than plastic has been. And it's a big job. Like every single time I tune in, there's just so much there to be dealt with and so much there to be cleaned up and to be shared, which like for years I was cleaning it up on my own here and there and kind of like skirting around my calling because it was different. But I've always done it when I've been aware of it, but now it's like I know that I'm meant to share so that like other people can learn about the messes, the energetic messes and the emotional messes that get left behind, because it's affecting us now. Like it is affecting us in so many huge ways, like physically, mentally, emotionally, especially physically, mentally, and emotionally in our life, and will continue to compound and get like bigger and louder for future generations unless we start doing something to help clean up this mess. So we all do have this call to take ownership of our own energy messes, but also that of our deceased loved ones. And whether it's our family tree or people that we've known or whatever it may be, I feel that there's so much that each one of us can do to help clear and clean the messes that have been left behind from the people before us as well. And they're just saying like there's a lot of messes. There's a lot of messes. There's a lot that has been left behind through human history that is literally like piling up on us, but because it's invisible, physically invisible, kind of, like you can see energy, but, or you can like, there's ways of like tracking energy, or there's ways of like sensing energy, but it is hard to see with the physical eye. And that's been an issue because it's there. So the other part, what's coming to me now is that another big part of the session the other day was like, I asked the question, like, why are people aged 50 and over being affected by this so much worse and in such bigger numbers, it seems like, than especially ages 0 to 9. And now they're saying like, well, a lot of the young people are, they have it, but they're asymptomatic, which means like they have it, but they don't have any symptoms of it, and they get over it, and they don't even know that they have it. But they do have it, but it's not affecting them the way that it's affecting ages 50 and over. And so what came to me as the answer to that from an energetic standpoint is that people ages 50 and over have lived through a lot more of these types of situations. They've lived through a lot more trauma. They've lived through a lot more bugs and viruses and threats than kids aged 0 to 9. And so the fear and the trauma within them energetically is a lot bigger and stronger, and it's compromising their immune systems a lot more because they're holding more fear and trauma, which then like opens the door wider and creates like harsher symptoms, and it has more of an adverse effect on them, because what I'm getting is once the virus comes in, the virus and the fear and trauma, they do a little dance and they shake things up and they get noticed, and the body is trying to like get their attention, or like get that person's attention. They're like, hey, we have a bad cocktail mixture happening in here. Like the virus is dancing with the fear and trauma, and they're having like a kick-ass party in here, and it's not good. Like we've got to, like, again, you don't have control over the virus, but you do have control and ownership of your part that dances with the virus once you get it, if you get it. And so our body has these adverse effects to the virus because there's something in our bodies, for those people who have massive who experience massive effects from the virus, is because there's a big pile of things in them that is creating a very toxic, health affecting mixture, party time with the virus. And so it's very interesting because like I'm going to try to like, so I have some things coming right now, but I'm just going to try to keep it like as simple as I can, because like I am not a scientific healthcare professional person. I just get a lot of insights and I get a lot of messages, but sometimes they're hard for me to wrap my head around even. But what's coming to me is that like there are so many bugs and viruses and bacteria that like flow around us and flow through us and come in and go out all of the time, our whole entire life. But only the ones that we have a bad combination with actually affect us in detrimental ways. And that's why, like, even in human history, not everyone dies from a plague or from an illness or from a virus. Like, not every single person dies from that. And yes, this virus is very quickly spreading all through the world, like the whole entire world. And I'm guessing that in the past, these viruses maybe haven't been able to spread like this because we weren't as internationally connected and like traveling as much as we used to be, but like and things did used to be more isolated, I guess, and didn't get as far and wide, didn't spread as far and wide as they do now. But the irony of what's coming to me right now is that, yeah, but even if it did, it wouldn't have affected people elsewhere because they didn't have the same fears and traumas that the people in certain regions had at that time that it like blew up. And I'm just getting that like fear has become a universal thing, and fear of whatever it may be, like fear of losing money, fear of losing your job, fear of losing your life, fear of dying, fear of like, well, and maybe it will come to me, but right now I don't have a clear description of what is the same with all of the people who have been catching this virus, this particular virus, other than fear. Like, I'm just getting like fear is the big connector, which is like opens the doors to this virus to then get sick from it. And so what's coming to me is that with the generations of people who are 50 years and older, they're holding a lot more fear because they've lived a lot longer and they've been through a lot more, and they're more closely connected to the earlier generations before them who like had the Spanish flu or who had whatever other kind of traumatic experiences relating to invisible things. That they're more closely connected to that, but we're all being affected by the energy that was left behind. And so that is the reason, the abstract reason, the energetic reason that's coming to me as to, well, why is it hitting people ages 50 and over worse than the younger generations? That's the reason why, because they're holding more fear and they're holding more trauma, and the past is linked a lot closer to them with past viruses and past epidemics and past illnesses like that were quite widespread than the generations after them are. And so what I was doing when my connection blew up the other day was I was sharing a technique of like, you know, it actually shocked me how much fear and trauma I was holding as I did the technique. And so I want to share a technique that will help you tune in and see like how much fear and trauma energy from my family's past or my own past or my own fears from the media and whatever am I holding, because we can take ownership of that and we can deal with that, and it's really important to deal with that. So for me, I'll just describe like, no, it doesn't matter what it was for me. I don't want to influence what you get, so I'm not even going to share what my experience was, but it was a lot higher than what I thought. So if you'd like I will do this technique now. If you would like, feel free to tune in and allow me to guide you, and you can see for yourself, like, how much of this energy are you holding. And yeah, I'm feeling that it is time for that now. It's like, as I never know like what will come up in the session or what I will say or do when, but it is coming to me now that, like, yes, teach the technique. So I will walk you step by step through this technique, and all you need is a willingness to use your imagination and a willingness to, like, receive the information that is there for you to receive, if you are willing to receive it. Okay, so I'd like you just to take a couple nice deep breaths. And this is like an intuitive, imaginative, creative, energetic technique. Because the way that we see energy and the way that we can see invisible things is by using our intuition and our imagination and letting them work together to bring information into our conscious mind. It's pretty cool. So just ask yourself, like, or give yourself permission that, like, I am willing to use my imagination and to be creative and to allow my intuition to share information with me. Whether you think you're intuitive or not, it really doesn't matter, because your intuition is there for you all the time. It's just a lot of people don't know how to consciously use it, but you're actually using it all the time. Or it's available to you all the time. Whether you use it or not is up to you. And also give your conscious mind permission to be an observer and an information receiver with this technique, because we do need our conscious mind. Like, we can't just live in the energy realm all the time, and our conscious mind connects us to, our conscious mind connects us to the physical realm. And so it is important to, like, when we're bringing information from the energy realm, it's really important to then connect it to the physical realm, which our conscious mind is a connector for that. So give yourself, or give your conscious mind permission to be an observer and a listener and a receiver of this intuitive, energetic information that would like to be shared with you, because it's in you, it's a part of you. Just, I'm teaching you how to tune into it. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes and take a couple nice deep breaths. And I'm just going to ask a couple questions to help you receive the information. Because when you ask a question, then all of a sudden you have a need to fill the void that the question has opened up. And so as you're receiving the information, just, like, don't think about it. Don't force anything to come. Just shoot from the hip and, like, go with, like, the first thing that comes or the first images that come. And just, like, when you're out of your thinking conscious mind, there's going to be a lot of imagery, or there's going to be, like, words that come or thoughts that come. That's the information coming to you. And so whatever you get is what you get. There's no right or wrong with this. It's just an exploration of, you know, what am I holding that is compromising my health and happiness, and that is affecting, like, or potentially affecting my health and wellness in relation to this virus, or any virus. But I feel like we're focusing on this one in particular because the common denominator with coronavirus is fear. I'm getting and trauma a little bit as well, but mostly fear. Fear is the big one. Okay, so close your eyes, take a couple nice deep breaths, and imagine some sort of measuring bowl or measuring cup or measuring like whatever comes to mind. It's just something that can measure liquid, okay? Or a scale even, like maybe it's not liquid, maybe it's a solid, but a measuring holder or a measuring tool of some kind. And now ask yourself, or I will ask you on your behalf. So I'm speaking for you right now. What level of fear and trauma am I holding that is interconnected with the coronavirus, or that is, that's like it's somehow all intertwined with what's happening with the coronavirus right now? So it's just like, what fear and trauma am I holding that is interconnected to what is happening right now with the coronavirus and past illnesses, past viruses, past trauma from myself and my ancestors and my family tree. And just allow yourself to see what level you're at with your measuring device. And then ask yourself, what is the point of me holding all of this fear and trauma? How does it help me? How, like, is there any good to it? Is there any purpose for it? Or has it just been there and I didn't know it was there and I don't need it and it's not helping and it's actually like interconnecting me with the spiral of life right now pertaining to the coronavirus? Okay, so the thing with awareness is that awareness and willingness go hand in hand, because once we become aware of something that we're holding or that we're doing that's detrimental to us and it's like not helping the situation at all, it's really important to have a sense of willingness of like, oh, I didn't know that was there. No fault of my own. I just didn't know it was there. I didn't have the awareness of it. However, now that I am aware of it and now that I realize it's not helping me, am I willing to let this go? Am I willing to release this? Am I willing to get this out of me so that I'm not adding to the global problem of this virus, of this fear virus that feeds on fear? Like, what I'm getting is like, this virus feeds on fear. And yes. So ask yourself, am I willing to release this fear and trauma energy that is not beneficial, not helpful, and it's adding to the problem? Okay. If you get a yes, just pause for a moment, because that means you're ready. But if you get a no, just be honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself. I gotta know. There's something in me that feels like I need to hold this. It could be relating to self-worth. It could be relating to, I have no idea. There's probably a million different reasons why someone would feel that they're not ready to let this go. Like, a lot of times we believe that fear protects us, I can assure you that is not the case. Fear compromises us, and fear makes us vulnerable, and fear makes things worse, like irrational fear, over the balanced level of fear. Like balanced fear is fine. It's like balanced fear is neutral. There's no charge to it. But refusing to be conscious, like it's like refusing to be wary when we should be, that has a charge. So like if this is balance, this here down here is like, I'm just going to refuse to feel anything, and I'm going to ignore the situation altogether. That has a charge. And this, I'm freaking terrified and over the top and fear-mongering and panic and whatever, that also has a charge. And so what I like to help people do is like bring your balance back. Bring balance back. Bring in balance back. And because in times that we should be wary and cautious, it's really important to feel. And in times where there's a lot of uncertainty and things are like completely confusing and uncertain and just like not smooth, it's like, yes, you should feel fear, but we want to keep it in a balanced range so that we're aware and we're resourceful and we're like honest with the situation and we're like logical about it and reasonable with it. That's the happy zone. Logic and reason. Very happy times. Okay? Even though you can be afraid, it's like there's a reason to be afraid and there's logic to my fear. So we're not talking about balanced fear and trauma. We're talking about blocking all of it or going off the deep end with too much of it. So if you get a no, just maybe ask yourself more questions like, well, why would I want to hold this? What do I believe about fear? Like what have I been taught about fear? Like, is there something in me that wants to compromise my health? Like, you just never know. And so do some journaling, do some writing, and you can revisit this technique and this exercise at a different, down the road once you are a little bit clearer on, well, why would I hold this fear? Okay. So for those of you that are ready and willing to let this go, there's a statement. So again, we're bridging the two worlds together. We're bridging the conscious world, conscious world, conscious physical world, okay, with the energetic, intuitive, invisible world. So a statement is said in the physical, but then that is the link to help things happen in the energetic, okay? Because we're using something physical that is completely connected to our intuition. So it's like our intuition and our imagination can also hear what our intentions are and what our words are, and then they act accordingly. Okay, so it's this really cool, like bringing the intuitive and energetic to our awareness, but then using our conscious awareness to then work with the energetic, and it's like really cool. It's highly effective because I've been learning and tweaking and mastering this process for years now. And so just once you get a yes, once you're willing to let this fear and trauma go, once you can see it and you can see the level of it, and you've asked, like, am I ready and willing to let this go? And you get a yes. I will say a statement for you so that you can let it go. Okay, so I will speak on your behalf, and you can say it out loud if you want. Afterwards, you can repeat after me. But the most important thing is bringing in your imagination and your creativity and your visuals to see it happening within yourself, or feel it happening, or imagine that it's happening. So it's not so much even seeing as like you're consciously imagining this happening. Okay? So I'll say it a couple times. So if you don't catch it all at once, that's okay. Ooh, got a little. All right. I give myself permission to release, dissolve, disintegrate, send back what I did not create, and fully let go of all of this fear and trauma energy that I have been holding from my past, from my family's past, from my other societal connections past, that is interconnected with the coronavirus and can be affecting me, or has been affecting me in negative ways, in detrimental ways. Okay, so I'll say that again. So help this happen within yourself. So use your visuals and use your imagination and use your will and your freedom of choice. Like, you can choose. Like, it's just, we can't choose what is helpful unless we see what's going on. And I help people see what's going on. And so once you see what's going on, you have choice. The only time you don't have choice is when things are going on, but you don't know what's going on. And how could you ever deal with something or choose something different if you have no awareness of what the hell is going on? So I help bring awareness, and then I help people choose, and then I help people shift the energy, and then things get better. So I'll say the statement again. I give myself permission to release, dissolve, disintegrate, send back what I did not create, and fully let go of the fear and trauma energy that I am holding within myself, or have been holding within myself, that is either from my past, my family's past, my connections to society's past, that is detrimental, non-beneficial, and in some way connected to what's happening with this coronavirus. And just imagine that you're taking ownership of what you're holding, and you're taking ownership of your energy right now, and you're letting that go. And I just see, like, as people let this go, all of a sudden their door is closing. And it's just like, you know what? Like, the fear and trauma was holding the door open and inviting, like, would have the potential to invite the virus in. But by releasing your fear and trauma energy, it's closing the door so that at least the virus would have to knock. Like, it would be a little bit harder now for the virus to get in, because all of a sudden your body, like, has its little guards, and it has its little, like, gatekeepers and its protectors and its guys up on, like, the balconies and the top towers on the lookout. But, like, if your door was wide open, it's like, what? All those guards are like, well, I guess they want this in because the door is wide open. So this is helping shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the front door to this virus. But you've got to let go of what's keeping the door open and holding the door open, in the first place, which is fear and trauma. So I see a door as people are doing this. I see a door closing. And I will never guarantee anything because the world, like, all I can do is share my knowledge and share what I know about energy. But I feel that at least this will make the virus harder to get into people. It's going to make it harder. Okay. Now, the other really important part is like once you let something go, and like my fear and trauma energy looked like bile. Like it just was like, bleh. It was like gross inside of me. Once I let that go, I was like, okay, I've let go of something. Like, what would I like to replace it with? And I always suggest to people, love, light, and truth are the best things that you could ever bring in to yourself and into your being and in like to like fill yourself up with. I really can't think of anything better than love, light, and truth. However, maybe it's joy, maybe it's peace, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's forgiveness, maybe it's, but like, do you see how it's like maybe it's strength, maybe it's courage, maybe like whatever feels right to you. But like, do you see how it's like we're not refilling it with more beliefs or with more junky junk? Like we're filling that space with really amazing energy, really amazing concepts, really amazing ways of being. So once you have let that fear and trauma energy go, and once you have a sense, like see if you can see a door within you. See, maybe there's some other things that you're noticing at the door that you've got to clear out using the same technique. But maybe there's some things that you could clear out that are also there that have been keeping your door open. And so it's just like, see if you can see the door and see if you can like, now this is like a I'm getting like a self-preservation door. Basically like we have a lot of different doors for a lot of different things, but so it's not like we're going to block all goodness out. Like I feel like goodness comes from here and down and through, and goodness comes from the earth and like up and through. But there's a whole bunch of things like from our head to our toes that like we could be checking in on, and we could be like it's like making sure we're not leaky and making sure that like we're strong within our essence and we're strong within our core, so that like we're not open and leaky and compromised. Okay, like we want to keep our essence very strong and very like, I'm just getting like leak proof. Okay, leaking in or leaking out. We don't want to be leaky. So just see if there's a door and see that, like, check in on that self-preservation door and check in on that like physical health and wellness door. And once you've done that, and nothing here is forced. Like you can't force energy. That is one big lesson I've learned. Like you cannot force energy. So just be aware that your goal is to have that as closed as you can. And maybe it's a bit of a process depending on how open and how many things that have been in front of the door or opening, keeping the door open. But once you've spent a moment to check on the door and see if you can help the door close even more, then even if you're still feeling a little leaky, it's okay. We can still bring in awesomeness. Okay, so then I give myself permission to receive and expand love, light, and truth, freedom, peace, calm, strength, courage, like whatever, any and all of those, and even other ones if you want. But it's just like you're replacing the fear and trauma with things that, and I'm like all tingly right now. It's like you're replacing the fear and trauma with things that feel amazing and things that help you feel strong, because you're bringing in strength. Like you're gonna feel strong if you're bringing in strength. And it's like it's flowing through your mind, it's flowing through your body, it's flowing through your heart, it's flowing through your soul, it's like flowing through your feet. But don't worry, there's more coming in. Like the earth is cleansing it, and it's coming, and like there's more coming, and it's just like this flowing action of goodness. And the more visual and the more creative and the more connected you can get to this process, like the better it will be for you, and the better the shift will be, or the bigger the shift will be, or the like, yeah, like the more cleaning that will be done, because you're incorporating multiple layers and facets and areas of you. All right, so I'm just checking in to see, just like feel what that energy feels like. Like I will use love, light, and truth as an example. Feel what love, light, and truth energy feels like within you, and allow it to just be there and stay there. But it's always flowing. It's not just like coming in and camping out and like hanging out watching TV. Like it's constantly flowing, and it's constantly just like, yes, there on, it's constantly moving within you, and regenerating, and yeah, doing all sorts of amazing things. Use your imagination. And okay, so I'm just asking, yeah, it's just basically like what's coming to me now is just like to invite anyone who resonates with this to share this session with other people, because if other people see it, then they can do this technique as well, and then they can have their own experience and help shut the door and help release what feeds this virus. And it's just like help stop the spread. Thank you for the words. Help stop the spread of this virus by taking ownership and releasing like the food and by shutting the door energetically to it. So it's like, if you don't have the food within you that will feed the virus, and if your door is not open to the virus, energetically, you will be so much stronger, and you will help stop the spread of it, because everything starts with energy. So physically, we're closing our doors and our borders, and physically we are closing everything. But that's on the outside. We also need to do what we can on the inside, and the inside is energetic. Okay, so if this resonates with you, please share it with others, because this technique is very, very, very helpful. And I just feel like we can all do what we can to help stop this, but also, like, I just know that like the way that I can help the most is by teaching about energy and emotions, and sharing techniques to help the energetic part of this whole situation. So Thank you so much for tuning in with me today and being here today. And please do, if this resonates with you, please do share. So thank you so much. And I'm sure I will be sharing new messages again soon. So bye for now.